Captain of IMC Nation. We're streaming about the open class. That's today with AZD. Sultan will be joining. We'll be talking a little bit about how to learn game online with AZD, the guy that has 7, 8, 9, 10 super fine girlfriends. They all know about each other. It's the top player on earth. Stay tuned for this as people join, as Sultan joins, and we'll go split screen with him and kind of shoot back and forth some ideas that he's observed, because he's communicating with accounts that have 15, 20, 30,000 people on them that have discovered AZD through these clips that we put out. And so he's got a lot of reconnaissance out there as far as like what the guys in the world that are discovering AZD, what are they going through? What do they know about game? Who else are they studying? So we're going to pick his brain a little bit. I'm also streaming on some other devices as they kind of preparing to live stream. It's like the bar is going across like this. So as that gets set up, I'm sure Sultan's going to be joining. In fact, I'll even just send him a specific invite. How do I do that? How do I do that? You have... Can you start it? Nobody started from mine.
Got 8 girlfriends. They all know about each other. They're fine. And he's teaching an open class today. What were the books? Sperm Wars is the first book. Sperm Wars. Second book is The Science of Attraction by Shane Smith. Sperm Wars is a...
Yeah, but you're never going to learn AZD game. Give up if you're just going to try to learn it from a book. Everybody tries to spend like $10, $8, buy a used book, and you're going to somehow get the results that AZD gets. Dude, there's millions of people that have read those books. You got to get in class. You got to get in class, man. You got time for these streams every day. What was that?
They gotta listen to the guy that's changed his life with those books and knows how to apply the books. Because everyone can read that book, but none of you are gonna know how to apply any of it. You're just gonna read it and that's it.
That's just what it is. But it is.
You might Cat in the Hat by Top. What is it? Dr. Seuss.
Yeah, it is supplemental stuff. It's like when you see the I don't know. He just the reference is very helpful because it helps you understand like why AZD is coming to the conclusions he is, and it's really helpful to have references outside of AZD so that it doesn't just sound like one man that's like manipulating you or you got lucky or whatever. He's able to pull the evidence from this and that, and you'll hear it in his speech. Because the other thing is like guys, they'll read those books and they'll learn the information, like how women put 2 alpha males against each other and go with the winner, or how she's so unpredictable in her ovulation or this or that, or how she can smell the symmetry in a man just based on his BO, but only when she's ovulating and not any other time of the month. And then he'll pull that and describe it and say it in a way that's actually, it works with the woman. Like guys, they'll use that data and they'll sound like dorks, and it'll sound like, well, men are designed to be with multiple women and women are designed to be with one man, and because I read it in a book. And that kind of game doesn't work. You could have all the facts in the world, but that's not game. It's a delivery. And then there's guys that have game, they have delivery, but they don't have the science. So then they're getting with girls. Think of like salsa dancers or guys that somehow they're around girls, they get a lot of chicks, but they don't understand biology and the psychology of it. So they're still lying to the women. They're not able to tame multiple women. So they're with multiple women, but they're in chaos. Those guys are as good as women too. They're just jumping all over the place. So the art of game is totally different from the information in the books. Some guys will be like, well, I'm going to spend the $6 to get the book so that I have all the background information before I learn AZD stuff. Bro, you are just delaying your evolution. You are completely delaying your evolution. And one of my favorite things about these accounts is that guys that show up to our streams will get to see you, Sultan, and me, Yogi Chris, change as we keep showing up and streaming. They'll see us improve. They'll see us. They'll hear us tell stories about we got that chick, about we went on this adventure, we did this and that, and they stayed the same. And 2 years from now, some of them will be saying to you, man, I saw how you grew. And you'll be saying to them, man, you didn't even see where I started. You came 4 years into the journey. Where have you been? You've been watching me change. You've been watching all this free stuff. Why didn't you ever join? And it's baffling, dude. I really don't get it. But there's a free class today in just 20 minutes, free with AZD. It's an hour on Zoom. You just show up, you got to DM the account to get the message, to get the link. And that's exciting, man, because I want people to show up. I want people to see the power. I want to, if you're a musician, you like seeing the pleasure of listening to the music on other people's face. And if you're the band manager, you like seeing the pleasure of the music on the audience's face. And that's what Sultan and I are. We're the band manager of the AZD show. And that's why we're bringing these streams to you every day. So, open class, man, open class, how to learn game. How to learn game from, I mean, what comes to your mind, Sultan? I already knew what I was going to say with that because I've done like 700 podcast episodes. So I've already like handled a lot of these ideas. But what comes to your mind when I say how to learn game? That was the title of the show.
Yeah, many things. The first thing is, guys that are in the dating world or gaming or like, they want women, or they got some women or whatever. They have many false datums. Like they're looking at their relationships, they're looking at girls, they're looking at their life really more than just women. They're looking at their life the wrong way. Like,
so how do they learn game? How to learn game?
I think the first step, at least that I saw in my path when I started this, is being able to admit you don't know anything. You actually don't know anything. You think you know a lot because you have a girlfriend, or maybe you have like two girls you're talking to, but you really don't know anything.
That's a tough thing for somebody. How could they? Man, they got to admit that to learn game. They got to admit that they don't know anything.
You gotta admit that you don't know. Yeah, you may know how to, maybe that's like maybe that's extreme. You don't know anything. Yeah, maybe like some basic things like eye contact's important, like, walk with your chest out. Yeah, you may know things like that, but when it comes to the relationship or like, so yeah, there's some things you may know, but majority of things you don't know how to interact, and you don't know what's high value. You may be spitting things out like, I have a nice car. Like you're saying obvious things that sound like you're bragging. You're not actually demonstrating high value when you're talking to men or women.
So how do they learn game?
Well, that's the first thing, is dropping your ego. And I think for some people it's easy. For me, it was not very difficult to do it because I already knew. I was like, bro, my situation, I don't even have anything to brag about, so I already know how to know anything. Like, I didn't have anything I could say. Like, well, that's true what you may be saying, ACD, but I do have ABC, but I didn't have anything, so it was easy to just admit, like, wow, I don't know shit.
All right, so let's say a person, he admits that he has the desire to learn game, and he's able to drop his ego and acknowledge that I really don't know as much as I thought, or I'm not as good as I want to be, and I want to get better. Then what? How does a man learn game? Obviously, the answer we're here say study with AZD. But if we weren't going to name study with AZD, like in generic terms, because I want to give people value, and the value that we give is clarity. We have clarity on the subject because we're not new at this. So, what does then a person do? What does a guy do to learn game?
Starting to like pick up some sort of fighting, like martial arts. Let's say you want to do jiu-jitsu, you want to box. You want to train with the person that has the results you want. So I could go to like 4 boxing gyms, and 3 of them are just really weak-minded. Like they're weak. Like they may look cool, or they may have muscles and tattoos, and maybe like they look fucking tough. But when you see them in the ring, you see them coaching. I'm talking about the coaches at the boxing gym. They might be really weak, and you're like, man, this sucks. Like it's like you walk in, it's almost like mundane, like dry. But then you go to this one gym, and like the atmosphere is fucking like up, like everyone's up. There's a pretty girl behind the counter. The coach is like on his shit, like sharp, discipline, looks sharp haircut. He's got like we call hunter eyes, the joke, but he's got like hunter eyes, like he's looking at the world like that. You can see he's on his shit. And when I go in that place, I'm like, I want to train with that guy. And like that guy doesn't sound like this. Yeah, so you guys, today we're gonna be doing we're gonna start with cardio. No, it doesn't sound like that. Like he's gonna sound like he's winning. And that's the guy I want to train with, right? So if I'm looking for or I'm looking for someone to help me with my relationships, dating, or whatever you want to call it, mindset, communication, confidence, then I'm not going to go with the guy that looks like a fucking gerbil. If the guy looks like a gerbil, he has like some tattoos, I don't give a fuck. But if the guy has multiple relationships, countless relationships that have lasted years and years and years, 17 years, 5 years, talking about ACD now. That's who I want to learn from. Now, you may want to learn from a guy that fucks like hookers and dirty prostitutes, and maybe that's what you want. I don't know. That's not the plan. That's not for you.
It's definitely some things to.
That's not what you want because you want to be here. So you do want fine women. You just don't have the understanding. Like maybe you don't have that understanding. Because the first coach I started studying with, they weren't getting high quality women. They're getting very low quality women. And I wasn't even able to duplicate that because they didn't know how to teach. So it's not only what results you want, can that person actually duplicate what they're doing to another person?
Yeah, for example, this guy Creek Life, he comments, spiritual world is real, follow God, everyone. So that's a man of God, a man that is spiritual, he follows God, and he really preaches that message. He wants other people to do it too. Do you know that there are guys, there's a whole spectrum of guys, but let's say two. Let's just take two individuals. One, they both are spiritual world is real, follow God, everyone. One guy gets girls, one guy doesn't. You don't have to change that message. They both are saying spiritual world is real, follow God. But one guy has game and he gets girls to follow God. The other guy he probably masturbates, even though he follows God, because he's so lonely because he's got no game. You can be the spiritual man and the man of God. You could be a preacher. You could be whatever you want to be and get chicks. And you could accomplish everything in the world and not get chicks. Just like Sultan was just saying in the fighting analogy, there are guys that they train for the UFC or they train for the glamour, they train to be a champion, but that doesn't make them the most dangerous man in the streets. And in real life, they're dangerous when you put on gloves and you have a referee and you're in a cage or whatever. It doesn't mean they're not dangerous in the streets, but that doesn't make them most dangerous. And then just like Sultan was saying, sometimes you'll have a coach or a teacher or somebody and they're all sad and they get women, but they're like angry, or they're vindictive or they're critical or something like that. They're not cool or fun to be around. They may seem to get women. It's hard for a new guy who's not familiar with the dating community and game and whatever, and he sees a guy that has 2 girls or 3 girls or seems a little bit more free than himself and his friends, and he's like, oh, that's a great coach. And it's like, man, you're new to this world. If you were new to jiu-jitsu, just show a rear naked choke and that's impressive. But that's like a basic 5-year-old can do that. Like show a scramble, show how to, defeat everybody in all sorts of positions and scenarios and times a day and whatever. And so the state of mind of the coach, very important. And to be able to measure that is like a skill and a sensitivity that the guys online. I mean, guys, like this is what I talk about. I have a PhD. I've been behind a computer a lot. It's in engineering. I was an entrepreneur with yoga. Like I'm behind the cell phone a lot. Like the cell phone and the computer numb you to your spiritual awareness of other individuals, men and women, old and young, black and white, all this. Like it numbs you to intersocial dynamics. And you got to be a master of all of those if you want to get the finest woman, because everybody's trying to align with the finest women. So if you want the finest women and you want her to align with you and not with all the other people, then you got to be greater than all the other people that she has access to. That takes a lot of game, but it's possible because Arash is an ugly motherfucker. He's just a tattooed, bald Persian dude, short, and gets the finest women because, man, the way you put yourself together, the confidence, the mindset, the awareness, the value he brings to everybody. And that's why we're inviting you to his open class. Like, just come and see how he talks with all the brothers, all the guys on. Just hear the conversation. You'll tell me that he's not the most calibrated individual, able to interact with all these kinds of men. I mean, we have bums, we have fighters, we have professionals that make millions of dollars a year. We have other guys that, they're looking for a second job or something. Like all this whole spectrum, old and young, married, single, virgins, players. We got pickup coaches that are in the group. You'll see them on. They're professional pickup coaches and they study with AZD. If they're studying from AZD, what are you doing, to try to learn game? That's my piece.
Yeah, it's funny actually. We have professional pickup coaches and we have professional pickup coaches studying from AZD. And we have guys that can barely say hi to a girl, figuring out like, should I do this?
Yeah, right.
Bro,
they're timid. Yeah. Yeah. Bernard asks, but you can apply the teachings into your own version of character, right? That's the only way you could possibly do it. You could never do anything else. That is the only option. Because even if you tried to mimic Arash, if you tried to just copy him, that would be your character. Your character would be a copycat. So you're always taking whatever you learn, no matter where it is, who it's from, whatever, and putting it into your character. You just may not have awareness of your character. You're probably inconsistent with your character. Sometimes you're mopey, sometimes you're confident, sometimes you're outspoken, sometimes you're introverted, sometimes you're like you respond, and so you have unpredictable character, and so the world, law of attraction, can't organize around your character. You need more certainty, you need more focus. This is what AZD teaches. This is what I wanted to teach the other day about AZD, but we'll get into it next week. How he teaches focus, ambition, communication skills, confidence, and ethics. Those are the 5 main things, and not in that order, but the ethics to have multiple relationships, the confidence to do whatever you need to do, the skills of communication to not just approach, to not just do it, but to succeed. You need skills of community. That's what he's teaching in the daily mastermind. That's why just come to the free class, everybody. And Bernard, you've been on like 100 times, so I know you want to show up. Yeah, I know you want to sign up. So, let's go. Open class starts in 10 minutes, everybody. I'm going to sign off and get to the messages because I know a bunch of people have DM'd me about joining. It's on Zoom. You can't be late. You have to have your camera on. It starts at 10, which is in 11 minutes, okay? DM the account to join. Any final words, Sultan?
Yeah, you guys get your class starts in 11 minutes.
Yeah.
So message the account if you follow this account. Armando, what's up? Yo, you're on class, bro. Late.
Yes, sir. Oh,
if you guys want to attend the class, you can't be you can't, if you join later than 10:05, you're not going to get let in.
Yeah, so you got to be on time.
Yeah, you got to be on time.
If you can't make it, then try again next week. You can also just sign up for the program. You get all the recordings. It's only $97 a month. You get hundreds of recordings. It keeps track of where you leave off. So every time you leave the website and go back, it just picks up where you left off. You could skip ahead if you want. And so you would get today's recording also. And it's 7 days a week, except when we're traveling like tomorrow to Los Angeles. So no class tomorrow. 7 days a week. AZD Mastermind University. OS.
Yeah,